Hi, welcome to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com, and actually not anymore. We're online at diabloinkgamers.com. Diablopodcast.com just redirects because no one loved it. So I'm the host Flux, and I'm joined this week by Xanth
Ahoy, hoy.
and Aahz,
Hi there.
the first-time guest. And we've known each other forever, sort of online. You used to read my blog back when it was worth reading, which is how long ago you used to read
I
it.
still read it.
Yeah, I mean back when it was worth reading, though, you used to read it. That's how long ago. Now you and four other people, because I don't live Dayton anymore, because I live in Oregon and no one cares. And Xanth is our hardcore columnist and back for more.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. It's been a little while since I've been on and since we've had, a podcast. So definitely excited to talk a little Diablo today.
And you're full of wine, so all should be good. Sorry, you're full of beer. It's Aahz is full of wine.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And this is our second podcast, well, my second podcast of the day. And I concluded the first one by saying I was going to go soak my vocal cords in vodka to get ready for the late show. So we're all good.
Yeah. It's
And don't do drugs, kids, because drugs are bad, okay? Okay, starting off, yeah, since it's your first show, Aahz, tell us about your Diablo playing experience and why you're here and why we should listen to your opinions on everything.
Well, I just looked
No
it
pressure,
up.
though.
I'm at 996 hours of playtime. 400 some of what is the witch doctor, so that's the main class I play, and then about half that with the monk. I
If you wear a Hellfire ring, that's only 640 hours, though.
Good point. And I definitely do wear a Hellfire ring, and of course my follower also has a Hellfire ring, and I've got, well, it's not the max ruby anymore. I don't have the Marquise ruby. I've got the lower one than that in the helm. So I'm a Paragon 66.
Because if it's not worth 23 million to get 4% more experience, what's it worth?
I don't have it. I'm a poor Diablo 3 player, so even if I wanted to make it, I couldn't afford it.
And Xanth, you're our hardcore columnist and a fairly regular guest. Have you had any horrible soul-crushing deaths lately?
Surprisingly not, although the way it works is, I'll write a column or, I'll jump on a podcast and then, the day after or 2 days after, whatever character I've talked about will die.
Yeah,
So
whenever you gloat or get cocky, it's always bad.
I know I'll try not to make mention of it, but at the moment I have a level 52 monk paragon. Obviously, big difference between 52 regular and 52 paragon. And then I've kind of been on a quest to get all the classes at 60 in hardcore, just as backups for when that monk inevitably dies.
But you'll just make another monk then, like that guy you interviewed on your last column with his 98 and then his 100.
Yeah, that was a really cool story. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of time it took, but and the dedication too to be, that close and then to go all the way back to the beginning and, do it again and succeed, which is really cool. But I don't think I don't think I'd be able to do it.
They were both barbarians, though, right?
Yeah,
So it's not like you really played the game. You just played a barbarian. But I mean,
right.
it's still an achievement, though.
Right. And I think the only thing he changed was the gender. So his male barbarian died, and then he made a female, and apparently that made the world a difference.
Those extra 2 levels he got to. And did he reach 100 and strip the character and uninstall the game and never play it again? Or
No, he's working on a monk right now. He's on my friends list. He's working on a monk which is like 90, 92 or something like that the last time I checked. And then he has a witch doctor as well, but I think he might be getting burned out with multiple hardcore Paragon 100s, and then he might be done. But
God, what a wimp, dude! Only three level 100 paragons.
I mean, I won't.
If you added up all your paragon levels, Xanth, would you get to 100 for all your dead characters?
No. I lost a 16, a 7, a 6, a 13. Um, God.
You're an accountant, Oz. What are we up to here?
It's no fair. I've had wine.
And then obviously,
Sounds about 30 though. And
yeah,
you got it.
and then
What's 50? So
50. But I mean, obviously, what, at level 50, you're 20% of the way to 100.
Yeah, I think 90 to 91 is like twice what 1 to 10 is, but
Right. So
let,
it,
us not use math. It's too late at night.
yeah, and we can't just, I'm not going to add up numbers here, but yeah, it wouldn't be comparable. But it's been going really well so far. No major deaths yet. Although I have made a wizard, and
I'm so sorry.
it's fun, but at the same time, I feel insanely vulnerable, and that like I'm just gonna get destroyed at any second.
You need a meat shield or two.
Yeah, pretty much.
Get your 98 barbarian friend to just stand in front of things. Hey, I'm leveled. Hey, I leveled up 10 more times already.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right though to me.
We know everyone's done the whole, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have done the whole multiplayer, monster power 10 thing to get early levels up.
Right.
Do you know what it would be? Say you did MP 10 and just did a full clear of Act 3 when you were like Paragon 1. What do you think you'd go to?
MP10 in Inferno.
Like yeah, like MP 7 in one game or something? I mean like Paragon 7? I mean, I don't even know. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like from the hardcore mindset, it just seems really risky. Especially when you're in Inferno. I mean, even on your when people are leveling you and you're going through MP10 on Hell, just one errant sentry or one misplaced step and you're dead. I imagine it would just be kind of the same thing, because you're not really too geared on a fresh 60 or whatever. Um,
Well, unless your last one was 98. Of course, you lost the
right,
equipment too, so.
right. I don't know. I'm sure it would be moderately successful, but I think the risk versus reward would be, I don't know, because it's not that hard to grind your own Paragon levels.
Have you respec lately as and played any new characters, or are you like me and you've just got one of each and there's no reason to ever do another one?
No, I play all different ones. I mean, the witch doctor is what I typically use. If
I mean, do you have two witch doctors or two of
Oh,
anything?
I'm sorry. No, I don't. I am working on a hardcore witch doctor, but she's only level like 34.
Well, you're almost there.
Yeah, right.
That's Paragon 34, right? Oh wait.
No, it's not. The highest level I ever gotten was I think 56 with a monk, and not Paragon.
Yeah, I hear Xanth telling those stories about re-rolling, and like I don't really miss re-rolling, but I did so much of that in Diablo 2, even not hardcore, because you want to try a different build.
Right.
I mean, of course I was younger and had more free time then, so I didn't care. But like I have these characters that are really well geared, and I just think it'd be fun to just put all this crap on a level like 57 character and just destroy things. But then what's the point? Then I've got two level 25 paragons. It's like, well, great, and they're exactly the same.
Which use in remaking a standard character class, and you only get 10 slots anyway. So to me, that's 5 for standard and 5 for hardcore, one of each
I think
class.
Jay Wilson made that argument actually back in the day when we were all outraged. Have you guys gotten used to not having mules, and do you feel the stash is big enough? Because I mean, I was one of many who thought the stash was horribly too small, and now I never even fill it, and I just throw away all my junk. So
I,
were we just goddamn pack rats back in the old days?
I don't know. I still feel like it could go two more tabs or something, maybe just a little bit bigger because I don't know. I like to load it up, especially with maybe it's different for softcore where you have no option of re-rolling really.
Yeah,
I've
you just save your low level gear.
right.
I have no low level gear anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, so like my first like tab, maybe tab and a half is all low level stuff, in case I have to make that trek back and differentiating between strength gear and dex gear and intelligence gear for whatever class I'd be bringing back up to 60, and then doing it by levels like level 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, so on and so forth. So for me the stash could be bigger, but I could see where if you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff that you just have plenty of space.
I completely agree.
How's your stash going, Ass?
The standard characters, there's room, but the hardcore, I can't. It's full. I mean, I can't when if I try to sell something on the auction house and it ends, I have to go move something into my inventory to where I can send that to my stash again to resell it, to relist it, because it's all if you're trying to do all 5 classes, and eventually I'd like to, and keeping all the lower level gear, there's just not enough room. And storage space is so expensive these days.
And you don't have any room for mules, and they can't hold that much anyway compared to the stash.
Correct.
I can recall when some months ago when I hadn't done I have all 5 characters into 60 or above now at this point for a softcore. But I remember when I think my witch doctor and my monk were both in the 40s forever, and I had like an entire tab of the stash, just like, all this crap, level 47, 48, 49, 52, 54. It's like I had an upgrade every level and a half for 10 levels. I'm like, what? I don't need all this crap. You just zoom through those levels in 5 minutes anyway. But it was there, and I wanted to use it. I've been saving it for months and months. I remember being so happy when I finally leveled up to 60 and could just throw all that stuff away. But someday hardcore will suck me back in. Of course, you have different stash for hardcore, so.
Right, which is nice. I can't. That would be well, awful. Do you remember when we originally, were speculating, like, are they going to have a different stash for both? No, how would that affect the economy?
I remember when Jay Wilson told us the stash would be unbelievably large and we couldn't even begin to fill it up. And then
Yeah.
like a week later, there was only 3 tabs.
Well, even in the beta, wasn't there? There was more than what we ended up with.
It's been so many. I mean, they have you could buy all these bags and have like different inventories in your own space, and they had different bags for rune stones and stuff.
Right.
I mean, it's been steadily getting smaller and all occupying the same space. Is the complications? I'm sure just because of the console.
Yeah, that's it.
Everything, yeah, every problem is definitely the console. That's the
And
issue.
until something new happens, and then it'll be a fault of that. So speaking of stashes, Xanth, you've been on this hardcore billionaire program. How's that coming along? You get 200 million yet?
Yeah, actually. But that's only what, 1/5 of the way there. Again, not good with math. Um,
We're skipping the math
all
now, I think.
right, good, good.
Well, that's 20% of the way there. Don't you just get tempted just to blow it all? But of course, if you die, you lose it. So
I think that's the other thing. It prevents you. I think with hardcore, I feel. I mean, I've loaded my monk up like with a lot of good gear, and I've sunk a lot of gold into him. Where if I die, I mean, I'll lose a lot, but I think with each item, it's kind of like a risk to it, so maybe you're a little more hesitant and you wait it out a little bit longer. You kind of look for those deals and stuff. So I don't let my stash right now go below 100 million because I don't want to find myself in that spot where if the horrible thing happens, like tomorrow or whatever when this gets posted and my monk dies, then I'm able to kind of build back from it. Um,
and how much of your total fortune was that one witching hour you sold? Like
um,
30, like 75% of your total profits ever?
um, well, since I sunk so much into the monk at this point, most of that witching hour kind of has disappeared into him. Um, just a lot of other good lucky drops. And then right now, selling Tombs of Secret is the easiest moneymaker you can find.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say you don't think like 10K a piece on hardcore,
they're up to almost 20 right now.
and you find like 50 an hour easily.
Right. So,
So you're making 1 million an hour just picking up tomes of secret.
exactly. And that's all you can pick up tomes and gems. You can almost forget about everything else and, slowly build up, your stockpile. And, obviously it's tempting, to take those tomes and craft for yourself, but it's a lot easier to just get gold and maybe hopefully buy something that you might use.
So the actual crafting fee is like a quarter of the total price. It's all the damn reagents.
Right, which are, just steadily going up. I mean, it's gotten to the point where the tomes are more expensive than, amethysts and hardcore, which are normally the most expensive gem you could find because, it's vitality and life percentage in a helm and obviously we want to live longer. And
Yeah, amethysts are the least expensive in softcore.
right.
They're like they're like gravel. You can't even get money for them.
Yeah, well, we're in a hardcore, they were pre-patch selling for 16, 17,000. Now they're down to 9 because people they're sinking all their money into Tomes of Secret to do crafting.
Interesting how the dichotomy of the economy.
Yeah.
What's the most you've ever? Is you're an accountant, Oz? So you must
Yes,
be really good at saving up all your gold. You've probably got like 40 or 50 billion right now, right?
I'm terrible at saving it. I've had a couple of like 40 million sales, and those have all been, reinvested into various characters. I think I'm sitting at about 9 million in stash right now.
Wow, that much, huh? That'll buy you 15 tomes of secret in
I'm trying to
hardcore.
save up for Marquise.
Yeah, good luck with that. Like 60, that's 60 million once you've got the top gems. Good luck. I have been over, I think, 50 or 60, like 4 different times. Every time I've immediately blown the entire wad. And I literally, like 3 days ago, I was at like 66 million was my all-time high. And I immediately spent 40 million on a fist, and then I switched all my monk around from arcane to cold for his OWE.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
that cost me 40 million. But then I'm selling all the crap I switched over back and getting most of it back. But it's so slow to sell anything now in softcore, unless it's like legendary and awesome. You just can't move rares anymore.
So what prompted the switch from arcane to cold?
I I had a really good amulet forever that was I was on Arcane and I found a really good quadfecta amulet that had 58 cold and it was just sitting there taunting me for like months. And I was never going to replace it. It's like a 200 million item to replace right now.
Yeah.
And it was by far the best. It was worth more than like every other item I had put together basically. And I'm like finally I said, this is stupid. I'll just go. So I spent, 18 million to get a new Inya's chest and I had to get new shoulders and I still haven't found gloves to switch over yet, but it was worth it. I mean, I gained like 6k DPS and about 80 or 90 resistance to all by switching around.
Excellent.
Plus, it gave me something to do for one night. So
Nice. Yeah, I found in hardcore right now, the things that are selling the most are the legendaries that are for slots that cannot be crafted.
yeah,
Like a Mempo, I found one of those the other night and it sold for 52 mil. Um, and because when it comes for helms now, I mean, not too much competition. Um, shoulders like Vile Wards have just plummeted. Um, a good Vile Ward, would have set you back 25, 40. Now they're selling for below 5 million. Um, legs, boots are still, worth a lot right now, but it's funny how crafting has really shifted. Just like you said, you can't really sell too many rares unless they're really, really good. People right now seem to just be scouring for those best in slot legendaries.
and it's funny because I think for hardcore that makes a difference because Vile wards are still pretty pricey for softcore because they're the DPS is almost the same. You can't get the vitality on one, but no one cares about vitality that much.
Right,
Whereas you guys can get you get a 300 vitality shoulder. It's like, oh my God, that's like the end of the world,
right. And I mean,
or possibly the not end of the world, as the case may be.
exactly. And I mean, I can't. Like I found a vial the other day, and it was just like, no one's gonna buy this. I switched out. I crafted my shoulders, and then I switched out the vial I had, and I've listed on the auction house, I think, 6 times since then, and each time dropping the price a little bit lower, and no bites at all.
Alas.
I know, it's so sad.
So, what is your recent play, Oz? Have you found anything exciting and new and redone any characters? You're just doing your Witch Doctor?
The new thing I've done is played some public games. I didn't play those forever, and with Monster Power now, I usually run MP2, and those have actually been going pretty well. Um, it's not, it's still a little bit more chaotic than when you're playing with friends, and of course, a lot of my friends we coordinate over TeamSpeak and such, but it's still a pretty good experience. Much better than I remember it from months and months ago.
The podcast earlier I did was we had a guy who's in a guild on. I asked him if he has a special version of Diablo 3 they only sell to guild people that has like actual social features and MP stuff. And he said no, it's the same game, but they've just found ways to make it work. So has that worked for you?
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
did you get the special version of the game that no one else did?
no special version. And I'm in an old guild, a Diablo guild, like the original game, so there aren't very many left. But there are still a few hanging around, and we play pretty regularly, 4 or 5 nights a week. Mostly it's just go through Act 3 and farm, but we'll do Ubers as well. So
Can you imagine having another act to play in? Wouldn't that be something?
well, you got to get the key
I mean,
runs for the for the Ubers. So we play Act 1 and Act 2
yeah.
for key runs.
I'm pretty much set on Hellfire Rings for the immediate forever, so I'm not really looking forward to those. But I guess some people. It'd be nice if they'd made these new recipes required something other than just grinding Act 3. Like there was a better odds of getting something in Act 2 or whatever. I mean, of course, I need to play Act 2, so that's not all, sun and roses.
With the density issue, I just until that gets fixed, I don't really see how people are going to play in the other acts. Just is
I
too much time between mobs.
I mean, even when you look at it though, I mean, it's always been, I mean, you look at Diablo 2 as well, there's always been one act that was just a little bit better. And then there was, one act that you never touched. And in D2, I mean, ironically, it was Act 3 that you would never go to, and it was Act 4 that you wanted, and then finally
Ironically,
Act
Act
5.
3 had the best monster density. It was just, 10 billion fetish. You could just mow them down,
Right,
but
but
they weren't. The experience wasn't the
no,
same.
not at all.
And then you just hit the secret cow level every day for 5 years.
Right.
But
Um, so I guess I'm not too surprised when the way, Diablo 3 is has shaped in that regard, but jumping off your point about playing in public games, I still can't bring myself to do it.
they fixed the kill thing though, right?
Right.
The vote
You
out,
can
and
know,
you don't no longer
yeah,
get timed out.
if you do get kicked, you still have control of your character for that time, so you don't have to worry about your game freezing and you getting killed while the jerks who did it just sit there and laugh. Um, but they're really, tying into what you had said, Flux, too, about the social aspect. There is nothing that would draw me into a public game right now. That like I have more magic find with with my enchantress following me around. Um, I'm faster, and I don't have to worry about somebody else dragging something to me and getting me killed. Like,
And how does the enchantress follow you?
well, she's a follower.
By your footprints,
Oh man.
by your hidden footprints. Okay, either
Oof.
of you guys know any
Oof.
brawling? I mean, no PvP. We were hoping for dueling forever, and then brawling came in the last patch. And you mentioned it in your column, Xanth. So what do you think, Az? Have you done any
I
PvP?
no, I've never had any interest in it. So, and I haven't pursued any of it either.
Were
Sorry.
you interested before they changed it, or you didn't care then either?
In any of the Diablo games, I've never been interested. It's always been PvE for me. That's been my only interest.
Well, you've come to the right place. It's the
I,
right game, man. So you tried it like once, Xanth, and said no?
Yeah, it was the day of the patch. Jumped on and luckily, didn't get killed, which was good.
Because there was still the bug at that point.
Yeah, with the bleed bug, where,
DOT stuff would stay on you even once you left, and you could die in town.
right, which would have been awful. And then, of course, they're not going to restore your character for that. But I tried it, and I'm not gonna lie, it was fun, but it does kind of tie back into the regular game situation that there's no incentive for me to do it. And then if you're joining a public game, most of those people are just farming. Then they're not going to want to take time off of their routes to, you know, take a minute, 10 minutes, whatever it is to duel you. It's almost like you need to go find a separate forum, like on our website, to find people to duel, which seems completely opposite of the whole aspect that what they wanted with Diablo was to be social. That
You just go to the special dueling games, right? You can name your game and say dueling only, and people join it to fight, right?
exactly, exactly. You know,
Well, that technology can't exist on Battle.net, obviously. So, it's not like we had that in 1996 or anything.
right. Or, the ability to meet new people. I mean, and maybe you guys can call me wrong or something, but I mean, how many new people have you met from public games?
I've met zero.
Since since the beta, or
Right.
not a lot, no.
I mean,
Yeah,
they appear as recent players, but I've never purposely tried to, play with them again. It's just you start up a game and people join and you go pretty fast, and then that game's over and you repeat the process.
right. There's no correlation, there's no conversation. It's just you jump in and you go. It's kind of, it reminds me of like a StarCraft game. You're playing against somebody else, and then when it's over, everybody types in GG and you leave. There's no camaraderie in some sense, and I think that kind of sucks because I mean, I remember meeting a lot of people from D2. Just you would bump into them in multiple games, and then become friends with them and play with them more frequently. And I just don't see that right now. And even with hardcore, where it is a much smaller subset, where you think you'd be closer with these people, you really aren't.
Do you know they just put a global clan chat thing in StarCraft 2? It's like apparently a brand new feature.
Hmm.
I did not know. It was mentioned, I think Nineball mentioned that last podcast. He's been doing a lot of StarCraft 2, getting ready for the expansion.
Huh.
And so it's sort of a guild thing. You can have like a permanent I guess it's like a permanent friends list for chat things. So like
Okay.
50 or 100 people are always you're automatically in that channel when you log on.
Hmm.
So in 2.5 years after Diablo 3's release, we might get some social features as well in theory, just in time for the expansion.
I would.
Okay, new topic. Minor bitch. So there's a blue post about this a few days ago about how you can only see five buff icons for your character at any one time.
Right.
And that's been the case since pre-launch, and we all thought it was stupid then, and it's still there.
Right.
And I mean, you've always got, Nephilim Valor as an icon, right?
Yep.
And usually, if you're a monk, you've got Sweeping Wind up all the time, and your aura, and you get the second aura one when for that 3-second bonus
Right.
that you recast over and over and over and over
Breath
again.
of
Please
Heaven.
God, kill me. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then or you recast your aura, so you get that one too, and Breath of Heaven. So that's 5 auras right there.
Right.
And quite often you've got a shrine or two, and if you're playing with another person, if hypothetically there was a multiplayer game and you had a barbarian war cry or another monk's aura, that's like 7 auras.
Right.
I mean, 7 icons. How can they make a system where you only get to see half of your buffs? And they're always like, well, we don't want to clutter up the interface.
I,
It's funny. That's the one feature they didn't copy from World of Warcraft, which is nothing but cluttered interface.
Right.
no, I find it annoying too. And then there's little subtle things that they missed, and I don't know if it's
You mean like
sloppiness.
itemization?
Well, no. I mean, like for instance, there's a Witch Doctor rune that I played around with for a while. Provoke the pack on sacrifice, and you
Yeah.
get an 8-second, I think, bonus damage, but it doesn't show up. So even if you don't have all 5 icons, you can't tell. You'd have to have your screen open to see it. There's little things like that where they forgot to put that even on the interface. And yeah, I've got plenty of times as a monk when the 5 spots are filled, and it's like, well, am I getting the buff from Guiding Light, which nobody uses, but I like it in multiplayer? Maybe, I don't know. So it's definitely an issue that should be addressed.
You said multiplayer.
Yeah, well, the guild games, like I said.
Any annoying pet peeves of yours you want to air now, Xanth?
When it comes to that, I would just agree. I mean, I've found myself, farming many a time wondering if Breath of Heaven was still up because I couldn't see it anymore. I'd hit 2 shrines and I knew Sweeping Wind was active and had my mantra and Nephilim Valor, and it's just you just kind of guess, and it's like, do I waste the spirit recasting it? I don't want to switch the character screen to check. Um, so you just recast it and you keep going, but I can't imagine, the icons are already pretty small. I can't imagine that if you were to add in, 3 more spots, it would be that obtrusive. I mean, you already have the quest one and the little mini map that are up there. I mean, if we want to talk about obtrusive. I would love the option to kind of just close that little mini map. Um,
And you get the little town icon when you're in town because you wouldn't know otherwise. Thank God that shows up, because you're safe there and you can't die from like DOT damage after dueling or anything.
right,
So
or monsters in town.
yeah, that's never happened. So it's good they have an icon for it.
Just remind you you're safe.
Exactly. So you know what's worse than having too many cluttered icons on your screen? Not seeing all your goddamn buff. That's what's worse. I think based on what they said in the blue post that it's just a technical limitation. Like if you notice like your debuffs appear on the right side of your belt and your
Right.
buffs on the left, but you never have more than like one debuff at a time, maybe two or something. So I think maybe they just divided it up evenly and said, okay, buffs on this side, debuffs on that side. And of course, somehow didn't realize there would be 8 of one and 1 of the other.
Right.
And like they can't just make them extend across the middle because, programming.
Don't you think that's something that a modder could fix in a few hours?
Well, there's no modding in Diablo 3, so we'll never know, will we?
I understand.
That's one of many things I kind of think. Like they're mentioning all these, like they're trying to figure out all these changes and how to make itemization better, how to make monster density better. If there were like, Brother Laz type people making all these mods, I just kind of think that would be like a live running full-time beta test.
Right.
They would be figuring out monster density, they would be figuring out in-game quests, they would be totally reworking all of the items. And I mean, I'm sure the developers are like very smart people and they can figure out awesome fixes and it only takes them 18 months to implement them, but it's like there'd be mods who'd be doing really cool stuff and they could just like totally steal their ideas.
Well, I mean, that's
It,
kind of like with what they did with Paragon levels. Crip was talking about them, and I know it's from another game as well, but they're just kind of like, oh, we need to add something on, we'll swipe it from somebody else. I think if they were able to pull from user-generated content, that would be a hell of a lot quicker.
I mean, they can get user-generated content now, but it's in the form of forum posts.
Right,
So that's a little more work to say, hey, I think witch doctors should do more damage with X, to putting it in the game. But
right, and to actually, yeah, have the the data to back it up as opposed to the idea.
yeah. Okay, new topic. Achievements. Somebody recently posted 100% achievements. They'd had gotten that. I'm at like 72%, and we'll probably never get any higher because I can't find the goddamn journals because Leah doesn't talk enough. How are you guys on your achievements?
I'm
Do you care?
somewhere
Do you hunt?
now. I'm somewhere in that range with the Flux, where I've a few of them I've done when they're convenient, but mostly it's just I don't go out of my way for them. It's nice to have, and every once in a while I look and say, well, where am I on the 1%? I go, okay, because I'm an accountant, right? So I'm about 78% of the way. But and I've
And
done the
which is what?
conversation.
That's the 100 million gold pickup.
What's that?
That's the gold pickup
Yes,
achievement.
that's the 100 million gold pickup. Yeah.
You've never gotten that, huh? In 900 hours?
No, I'm not.
I dinged that a while ago.
Good job.
Lucky, congrats to me. And is that why you're doing your 60 levels with every character's Xanth so you can get the achievement?
No, I just kind of want to have them at, max level to really kind of see how they play because it really does seem like the characters don't open up 100% until 60. And, then I can kind of truly assess, whether or not they're a good class or a bad one. Although for the life of me, I cannot play a demon hunter.
Do you realize that you get a new border pattern for your banner when you get to tall 60? I mean,
What?
are you sure you're factoring that into your calculations?
Now that you said, no, I'm not going to do
I think there's a paisley trim you get with that one, so it really makes a big difference on your overall.
I haven't, yeah, I haven't done any banner modifications since day two, I think.
I just did recently because my monk is in Inya's set forever, and it's that white and blue kind of look, right?
Uh,
And my banner, whatever the default, was like, neon orange and purple. It was some hideous color. Whenever I started a new game in Act 3, of course, I would see this hideous banner thing next to me. The only time I never really noticed it was when I first started the game. And so I went and changed the banner to look exactly like I do. So I picked a blue one with like ivory trim.
hmm.
So now it looks like there's two of me standing there when I start.
You're
It's
beside
just awesome.
yourself.
That was like the best 5 minutes of my life in Diablo 3 right there. And I'm
Uh,
like, who's that handsome monk? Oh, that's me. Ha ha ha. And then I move on.
No,
No,
what
well,
uh,
you'll both be doing that tonight now.
one thing I did notice with the achievements, though, I tried to go back and get some of the conversations with the followers, which I never bothered to do, and I couldn't help but thinking, these backstories are pretty interesting. Why didn't they put them in when you're adventuring instead of the same three things over and over and over?
Well, you're supposed to go and talk to them in town and find out all about their exciting lives when you first play it.
But
So you played it wrong,
yeah, I
apparently.
guess so. I was over 900 hours in before I found those. So
Yeah, I listened to all those forever ago, but yeah, yeah, like everybody, that was one of our whole things from after the game launch, when everyone was bitching about how dumb the overall story was, and Pumpkinhead taunting you 45 times in Act 3 and that kind of stuff. And then there's like really good stories with like Leiden talking about his brother, and no spoilers, but there's good stuff. It seems like the small things are nicely written in Diablo 3, and just sort of the overall main story was like this really dumbed down like Transformers 4 type plot.
yeah.
So it just seems like they like Leonard Boyarsky did really good work. It seems like on the smaller stuff, and the details, and some of the NPCs have interesting conversations and such. But just the overall game plot is just sort of this accessible thing because console.
oh,
That was why, right? Because it was a console. Because console gamers are all play Call of Duty and they can't handle story.
That must be
That's what I
it.
read on the internet, so it must be true. Okay, oh, and that was the thing that reminded me. I was just recently, like literally like a week or two ago, I was running through Act 3, that little room over to the side where Leah's there, conjuring the Soul Stone and stuff.
yeah.
I had never somehow noticed there's a little side room off there that's like Leah's little room, and she's got like a bookcase and bed and stuff in there,
You,
and a Rapid Rabbit on the nightstand. But there's also there's like two more of her journals there from like when you're in Act 4, you go in there and there's extra journals I'd never read before. And I still haven't read them all. There's like I'm missing like number 12 or something. There's some obscure one in Act 2 you can only get it, you have to like get half of Zoltan Kuhl's quest and then go back to town, that kind of thing.
hmm.
But I had somehow never seen that room, or if I had, it was like May 15th, and I'd since forgotten it. But
I don't even believe you.
I thought I explored
I've
everything.
never I've never seen that.
Well, so now you have something to look at. So in your thousandth hour, you can finally
That
explore
that's what
X3.
I'll have to look at, definitely.
Yeah, it's just on the bottom. It's like on the south corner of the screen when you're in that little room. I somehow never noticed that in
Hmm.
5 billion games.
Yeah, I
Xanth's like, I don't even know what that is.
yeah, I've never seen it. I think I'm always, that little room, you're just running through it so
You
quickly, you
just
never make any point to go look around it. I mean, a lot of the exploration of any areas, it was, when there'd be monsters and stuff like that, not necessarily in town.
Well, you get that part where those little soul things come out when the soul stone pops, but you just sort of kill those in 1 second and move on.
Right. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily think about, oh, maybe there's something over here.
Okay, well, at least it wasn't only me who'd never seen that and somehow would never notice it in 5 billion tries.
I'm definitely looking at that tonight.
Yeah, everybody listening to this like, wait, what room?
And well, I'll go check.
Trump's massive exploration.
What if it's just some elaborate ruse by you, Flux, and then,
Yeah,
there'll be
it's the secret Leah room, yes.
right, there'll be people posting comments. Flux is an asshole. This doesn't exist.
Speaking of things that don't exist, I got a boss. I forget what kind it was the other day. Just a random yellow one called Bale the Chuddermonger, which I thought was an awesome name. And it sounds kind of English, right? Like that should be like that's like a job in England, like the guy who catches the weasels at the Ferris wheel or something. So I asked Ellie because she suffered from Englishness her entire life, as far as I can tell, and she's like, "I don't know what a chuddermonger is. It sounds like something." But she wouldn't say what. So I'm pretty sure that's an English thing, and she won't tell me like it's a secret, like it's an inside joke. So if anybody knows what a chuddermonger is, you can put that in the comments, and then we'll get to the bottom of this mystery.
It's probably Australian. She doesn't want to reveal that.
Or maybe she's actually Australian. Some people have suggested that in the past. The accents are very similar, apparently. Okay, next topic. Did you guys read, as I was calling it, the fanifesto of Gosu,
Yeah,
where he was going on and on about 40 billion things, and then he got a huge blue response to that, which sort of said lots of encouraging words and didn't really give any specifics, which is kind of what they specialize in.
right.
And he had lots of really interesting, huge suggestions, and I don't want to go into too many specifics unless you guys have some you want to do. But basically, he was just really looking for variety. One of the things is, he had all these wild systems for skills and for items and for big changes that I didn't necessarily agree with his implementation suggestions, but just that they were big changes. And it seems like all we get in patches these days is, here's an unused skill. It now does 4.5% more damage.
Right.
Everybody use it. It's like, no. Do you think, obviously it's hard to balance this kind of stuff, but I mean, would you be happy if 108 comes out and here's like, we've totally scrapped like 8 skill runes for every character and they're like totally wildly different things, try them out.
I
I'd be a Go ahead, Xanth. Sorry.
oh I think it'd be interesting. I guess I don't have those. I mean, like you said, with the track record for patches, it is it's more small. We haven't
Given
seen.
that you and I play monks nonstop and we're totally using all of the last changes that massively increased our damage, we're kind of hypocrites to bitch about this, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, actually, I didn't change at all with the new patch. I mean, my skills are exactly the same.
Yeah, because they buffed the ones you were using.
Well, still, I mean, right?
Twin got 25% damage increase or something.
Yeah, it went up a little bit, but um, I don't know. They're so small that like you get excited for them still because it does bring in new content or something else, and I think the crafting was a good success. Um, but it would be kind of cool to see something big, because that was one of the cool things about Diablo 2 was like latter seasons. We're not talking about changing every skill or anything like that, but we got a fresh start. You kind of break the mold a little bit with a big patch, kind of like what Gosu is suggesting, and then it's kind of a fresh start for everybody again. And I can't help but think with the console coming up or something like that, like wouldn't you want something new to kind of draw in people who may have shrugged off the game after those first couple months?
Yeah, it's called a PlayStation. That's the new thing to draw new games.
Yeah, but I mean, the PlayStation is going to have a bunch of games that will probably they'll be fresh. They're not going to be games that have been out for. I mean, what PlayStation 4 is slated for next year? Is it 2014?
I have no idea, dude.
Um, so it's going to have a bigger draw, perhaps if it has more fresh content than what people have been playing for a year and a half, 2 years.
How about you, Az? You looking for big skill changes?
It'd be something I would maybe consider for an expansion, a patch. I don't know. Now, if they kind of do what they've done and say, all right, well, what are the 6 runes that nobody is using, and they completely change that, or even skills. I mean, there's probably skills, that they could do that for. I think that would be okay. I did tweak my monk a little bit, started using the flesh is weak, exploding palm instead of blinding flash. But besides that, I haven't done a whole lot of playing around with the 1.07 changes.
When you use that skill, you just pray for champions. It's like, please, more champions. Just please, because they will. When one dies, they all die,
Yeah.
and not even with health link, they just go away. It's very fun.
Well, and
So another,
sorry.
yeah, go
I was
ahead.
going to say then on higher MPs, if you get just the regular monsters, you can really boost your area of effect damage if you can mix them in with the elites. So that's a nice bonus too.
Yeah, I was actually when I was using it the night I was doing some MP5 stuff for keys, and I kept getting bosses almost dead, and I would lead him a few screens away to get a whole nother crowd of monsters. And because if he once he dies with the new thing, boom, and it made a difference in MP5 because it was a little grindy for my killing speed. It doesn't matter when you're in MP1 or 2 or whatever, but
That's a pretty good tactic.
yeah, because people don't know what the skill does. It's now 50%. When whatever dies with the God, what's it called?
Exploding
Exploding
palm. Yeah.
palm. Yeah, Kill Bill. When anything dies with that effect on them, they blow up for 50% of their max life. It's a fairly small radius, like what, 8 or 10 yards, but so it's awesome for champions if they cluster around you, which they often do when you're a monk, and you just kill one and it blows up and takes the other two out because they've already been weakened by your sweeping wind and stuff. And if you kill a boss, it's fantastic, but usually by the time the boss dies, everything else anywhere near him has already died, right? So,
Right.
and it doesn't scale. I mean, if you could somehow lead like an act boss around, it seems like I mean, in theory, you could like get a keyword and almost kill him and lead him in like 5 screens. Of course, they don't really follow you; they kind of do their own thing. But you could completely wipe out a whole new boss pack in one hit if you could just lead him, get him into range.
That's true.
Now, if the rune effect would only like increase that by your area of pickup gold
There
radius.
you go.
Hey, 40 yards! I just cleared another screen. Yeah, that'd be fun. Anyway, so another couple of points that Gosu made I thought were cool was he brought up the whole challenge level of the game, and it's nice they put the monster power system in now. You can custom set it, and if you want a little more challenge, you can go up. And it seems like the rewards are a little better now that you get experience bonus. You were talking about that in your column, I think, Xanth.
Right.
And so, are you guys? How do you guys feel about the overall challenge? I mean, are you happy with the MP? Do you think the game is too easy now that we've gotten better at it? It should. What should change, Az?
I do like it in general. It's hard to compare. I mean, when the early days, I was really struggling with it, with the difficulty, and now, yeah, you're just based, kind of saying how fast can I farm these monsters, and you kind of tweak the MP level that way, and that's good. But I don't know that there's nothing really pushing me to say, gosh, I got to get to where I can play an MP7. It just doesn't really draw me in. It's there, but it's not really a mountain I feel like trying to climb. Um,
Ah, metaphor.
yeah, but I do appreciate the experience boost because it has gotten me to see, okay, can I go up to like MP2 is now my preferred farming area or farming level with the Witch Doctor. So I think that was a really good change in the patch.
Have you actually taken notes on it? I mean, like you say, okay, this game took me 16 minutes and I gained 12.5 million experience on MP2, and I'll now try it on MP1 and see how many.
No, I haven't done that. I'm too lazy.
Are you sure you're an accountant?
uh,
I've got a whole piece of paper covered with charts of this that I've been doing lately with my monk,
that's
comparing different builds at MP1, 2, and 0.
that's good. I mean, put that on a Google Doc and share that, let
Eh,
people see it.
Yeah, it's proprietary data, I'm afraid. Well, kind of if you look at people who do the real farming runs, kind of the holy grail of speed is a million experience a minute. People try to get 60 million in an hour, which is, 4 or 5 Alakazir runs, depending on how much experience plus stuff you have. And I can't do that, but you need like Kane's gear, the weird Kane set that gives you additional experience gain. You can't really do that just with Hellfire Rings. At least I haven't been able to, but you can get pretty close. So it's fun to kind of figure out, because you kind of lose track while you're playing. You're like, oh, a boss, ooh, a shiny. But if you actually write down the game time and the experience when you're in your game, you can actually look and say, huh, this one got me 14 million in 20 minutes, and the last one got me 16 million in 19 minutes. So anyway, pro tip for you kids at home. So how about you, Xanth? Are you happy with the challenge level?
Yeah, I mean, I think with hardcore too, you're dealing with, an additional challenge. That, and I'll agree. I haven't really felt the need to push it any higher than MP2. Um, and it could,
What did you do your key runs on?
um, I went with a group. The key runs were on, oh, like the Ubers were on MP8, but key runs were, I farmed them on MP1. Just played it real safe and real grindy,
Jeez,
until I got the ones I needed.
10% chance that so you only got three of each, and you just went in a group and got your rings.
Pretty much. Um, Played it really, really safe. I mean, when I was getting keys too, I was, broke, and just, was the only 60 I had living and trying not to die. Um, but when it comes to challenge, though, I'm pretty happy with it. The little extra experience here helps, and I felt like that was nice because then you actually do want to use monster power. Um, Even just for the little bit, more that it does end up giving you. But I really, have no urge to go any higher than MP5 until, obviously I'm 100% comfortable with it. Like MP10 it just doesn't seem worth it, especially, you get your Hellfire ring and you're not as concerned with, as many drops or anything like that anymore. I don't know. I think it's just so much more effective to farm on a lower MP, and I like it. I just kind of like speeding through things and killing them fast. It reminds me of the old
Diablo 2.
yeah, exactly. Just being able to whip through cow runs or, bloody foothills or whatever it was, and it feels right. I mean, going back to obviously the to launch, where just getting to Inferno was an accomplishment. It seems to have kind of hit its stride, and it seems to be well balanced in that regard.
Yeah, it's funny. We all said that Diablo 2 was too easy and we wanted more challenge, and we were all liars
Right.
because Diablo 3 had like a lot of challenge, and all we did was bitch for 6 months that it's a gear check and no one likes this and it's horrible and you people all suck and Jay Wilson ate too many cheeseburgers, etc. A lot of sophisticated game balance arguments were made in those days.
Right. Well,
And they said, well, I remember Jay had said some posts, and it was like, many of you feel that Diablo games are more about efficient acquisition of items or something like that. It's like, yeah, pretty much.
right. Well, I can't help but, wonder too if they had never implemented monster power and you just had more and more people slowly filtering into Inferno, if, those items whittling down to the masses would eventually have got us all to the point where we would be right now, or if we would have just got too frustrated and quit.
I think probably the latter.
More than likely.
A lot of people quit anyway, so
Right. Yeah. I was actually going in the other day and removing people from my friends list who haven't been on in, almost 200 days.
277 days.
Right.
So can you recall your early days as where you when you were first building up, and what was your first character that was really powerful and you felt like you could farm in Inferno?
It was the monk, and I would kind of switch back and forth depending on.
And was that Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's right. It was my 932nd hour when I finally fell. No, uh, I just remember the ramp up being so steep. Like when we got to the point with my little, small guild group and I were running through, and after finally getting to the point where we could do butcher runs pretty efficiently, we just get smacked down in Act Two. And it was, just a lot of grinding and a lot of slow progress and doing, at that time, butcher run after butcher run to try to get one upgrade in a week, and not seeing a legendary for what, one a month maybe.
Yeah.
So that part was really tough. That steep ramp up that you really had to grind through to get. So I think it's better now. You can get the drops on even MP0, and that's good. And a lot of people have more stuff. Um, there is kind of a maybe I sort of regret if I would have played more earlier and if I would have gotten there, at that time, I would have felt better about the accomplishment. Maybe I don't know. I think I finally beat the game in 1.04 patch, I believe. So I think that was before Monster Power. But it was a a challenge in those early days.
I always get that thing where I think, if I knew now, if I'd known then what I know now, sort of thing, like, how you could have gotten dates in high school, that kind of thing. But then you look at, like I had these horrible builds and didn't know what kind of equipment to go for and didn't know how to use the auction house very well and stuff. And it's like, if I could just take my current mind back to like July, I could have been like so kick ass at that point. Of course, the skills have changed and stuff, but I remember all these just. I look at my hours played, and my demon hunter has like I don't know 500 hours played or something like that, and she's like lower level than my monk in like a quarter of the hours. My monk is so much more powerful and efficient, and it's like, well, because yeah, he got all the hand me downs, and I knew what I was doing at that point and stuff. But just like if I started a new account, had a new demon hunter, even starting from scratch, in like 100 hours should be better than my current one, even starting from nothing. Just because I have spent so many hours, running around Act Two and trying to, like you were saying, butcher runs, all those kind of crap we did in the old days. Like the easiest monsters you could barely scratch through on before monster power made everything easy. It's like yeah, we were stupid and young and we thought we knew what we were doing, but we didn't. And soon the console will launch and that can all start again. Are either of you guys gonna get a console? Play the console? Do you care? Or are you just your PCs
On PC
or
only.
Macs?
Yeah, I have no interest actually right now in the console. It would go unused. I don't know. Especially with hardcore too, I feel like I can have much more trust in my computer as opposed to having a joystick in my hand.
What if the console comes with a free six-pack of Mountain Dew?
Ooh, and it allows offline play.
Yeah, there's that. You can back up your character, and if you die, you can just restore your save file.
Right,
But
which,
that would be cheating.
yeah, exactly. I kind of, and it's not a popular opinion, but I do like having lag and disconnects in hardcore. Uh,
Yeah, it makes it more fun that way.
well, yeah, it shores up, and it makes getting to 100 or whatever it happens to be a little more prestigious in some way because you somehow luckily managed to survive all the multitude of things that are trying to kill you in game and outside of it.
Okay, last topic. New crafting. Are you guys? You mentioned earlier as the Xanth, the prices are insane in hardcore. Have you been doing much crafting?
Yeah,
Have you upgraded any of your gear with the new recipes?
my monk, I switched out. I've got a really good amulet, so I haven't. I didn't even bother with that, but bracers and shoulders, um, and then just brought up a wizard to 60, and I think I have chest, shoulders, bracers, gloves, just basically like everything that could be crafted on her, and it
Are those int or vit?
um, a little bit of both, kind of depending on slot, but um, they, I don't know, it was really nice to actually be able to use the blacksmith because I remember, way back in the beta, like being able to go to the blacksmith and like that was how you outfitted your character, and that was kind of nice.
You mean when the recipes worked exactly the way the new ones do, where you could like specify dexterity bracers and then get random stats with them?
Right. Yeah.
So like from last January, the feature that just came back today. Okay, good.
Yeah. But
How's your crafting gone as?
I haven't done a lot. I've probably gotten about 4 pieces upgraded among my sundry characters, and I haven't even bought the chess piece recipes yet. But I have like 150 demonic essences sitting in my stash, and so I'm gonna have to do something about that. Um, but I did find, or I did make a shoulders of Dex, gloves of Dex, and an amulet of intelligence for my witch doctor. Like, got a 386 intelligence roll, so that was the highest I'd ever seen.
That's pretty smart. Can you imagine what demonic essences would sell for, Xanth, if you could actually sell them in hardcore?
um that's the thing. I wonder if they would go for too much at the moment. I've
But
actually
I mean, you only need one per recipe. You need like 5 and 10 book tomes of secret,
right.
right?
I
Or
mean
just
like
only
on
five.
a shoulder recipe you're losing 10 tomes per try. Um
And you don't? Do you think you find? I haven't. I would say you don't find 10 tomes per demonic essence.
no, definitely not, but
Maybe 5 or 6.
yeah, maybe somewhere in there. But I've honestly stopped picking them up. Like if I'm picking up other stuff and they're close by, I might. But if, it's a pack of, crap that just dropped and I'm rushing through, I'm not going to pick it up anymore. because I've got, like 100 some just sitting there that I'm not using right now. I'd rather run back for the Tome of Secret that's worth, 20,000 now, than pick up something that has no value, really.
Yeah, I wish you could break them down into something. I have over 300 in my stash, plus more other characters, demonic essences, I mean here. And I've done a fair amount of crafting, but I haven't upgraded that much stuff. But I just like I was joking when I kept asking when they first revealed them in the on the PTR, why are they yellow and not light blue like all the other, materials?
Right.
And I finally realized it's because they're just another crap rare you're not going to want to pick up. So
It's
that's
another
why they're yellow.
it's another head scratcher to me. Why did they make the essences so common and yet only give you a stack of 100 in your stash? I mean, why not 500 like the other crafting materials?
So they can add that in a patch and we'll all feel grateful.
Right when they increase the stash size.
It's like when your wife asks you to wash the dishes, you do a shitty job, so she won't ask you again, that kind of thing. And then the one time you do it, she's like, "Oh, thanks, that's so great, you did something." You're like, "Yeah, well." So that's why Blizzard gives us these features that suck when they're first implemented, and then they can fix them in a patch, and we're all like beaten wives, and we're like, "Oh, that's awesome. They did something nice for us."
I'll look
I
forward
may
to
be
that.
projecting a little here.
Wow, I've never been equated to an abused spouse, but that's not bad.
Well, it's the first. It's a day. It's a new day for everything. So, any last thoughts, guys? You're looking forward to playing, and despite all of our bitching, we're pretty happy with the game, and you're zooming right along.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that, I've really tried to bring out in the past couple of articles is whatever I'm complaining about is small because I'm still logging in almost every night because it's still really enjoyable to me. So I mean, there's always that the game is continuously getting better. I mean, look at how many months ago was it, Flux, where it was just you and I on the podcast because nobody else was logging in or whatever it happened to be, and we were,
That was January, dude.
yeah, all right.
It wasn't that. Wasn't
Was
It was
it?
like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well,
No, I agree with. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Xanth.
oh,
Well, you were playing Aahz. I didn't have you on the podcast. See, so
well, but we were, saying the game is going to get better, and it is, and we still have an expansion sometime on the horizon, um, and there's still hits and misses like with PvP right now, but I think the more conversation that does come up, the sooner we'll see more changes that will make it better.
No, I completely agree. I still enjoy playing it. It's a good game. It's gotten better with the patches, and I log in most every night and want to get some more Paragon levels. Want to see if I can get lucky and get a really nice drop.
what's the last really nice thing you found? You said you sold a couple of 40 millions.
Yeah, probably the nicest thing I found was a Chantoto's wand. I looked; it would list for maybe 200 million. It was like a 1150 DPS roll with the socket. So that
And
would.
you're using it, or
Yes, I put it on my wizard. I don't know that I would say that I'm using it, but I did cook my
it's
wizard with
equipped.
it. I don't play
Do
I
you
don't
have all
play him
five
very
classes?
much. I'm sorry?
You have all five
Yeah,
classes
all
now?
five classes are at 60. The wizard's got Paragon 9. He's the lowest. Um, so
That's my theory on why I never got really rich in the game because I've had all five classes all along, and I have at least 1 or 200 million plus items on every character. So like all my best finds ever I've saved like a stupid asshole when I should have sold. I should have sold everything for like three of the classes, and I could have just bought equivalents to what they have and had enough to really stock up one character to super high levels, and like it would have paid for itself. But so like all my classes have like literally like 3 or 4 items on every character that's at least 50 million. I've never paid more than like I don't think 35 million for anything, any single item. I mean, and I've got, I've pushed that 35 times, but still.
no,
But I just figured people I see who got rich really quickly had one character and like an alt that was level 7.
I agree with that. And there was a guildmate of mine that went that route that just did, only Demon Hunter, and that's all that was played. And that person was the first one through the game and had the most money, all that stuff. Yep.
And every time they found anything with strength on it, they immediately turned to huge profits, all the barbs early on, etc.
Right.
What class was your legendary witching hour belt for, Xanth? The one that built your fortune?
Um, it was, God, I don't even, it had intelligence, so
Well, they all have that. It's a default on the mod,
yeah,
on the
I
item.
just don't, I feel like it was high intelligence, but it had all resist and life on it too. So it was a decently rolled one, especially, for hardcore. It was not usable, really for my monk at the time. So I mean, like, it was a small, like a 2000 DPS upgrade, but the money I got, was able
Yeah,
to buy me,
obviously.
I think I for the first time was able to break 100K DPS, which was awesome. Um,
Nice.
so being able to do that, slowly was funded by that first witching hour that really had no use for me.
It's funny that item now. I bought two of those recently. I had to buy a new one when my monk switched his from arcane to cold,
Mm,
and strength is now a throw-in on witching hours.
mm,
It's like because barbs all want belts that have life leech,
right.
apparently. So I mean, both witching hours I bought, like 50 dex is worth like 130 strength on a witching hour.
Mm,
Hmm.
So actually, I think both the ones I bought actually had like 110 strength as a total throw-in random garbage stat.
Just gonna
mm,
help your armor, man.
Yeah, oh boy, whoop you do. Just what I wanted. Meanwhile, if you want 80 vitality on that thing, it's 75 million gold, that kind of thing. It's just
right.
it's just insane what is valued on what.
Well, and
My current long-term plan is my monk is up to 71 now, Paragon, and I've been at max EMF for 40 levels. Obviously, I'm slowly bleeding off equipment that gives me EMF, and I'm sort of thinking now finally that we were mentioning the whole multiplayer. I mean, the whole monster power levels earlier. What's the point in playing on higher? And so I've been, at 425 or 400 total MF, depending on what monster power level I'm playing on forever. And I really want to get up where I can like farm quickly. I mean, I can survive on like MP7 now, but it's slow as hell.
Hmm.
I really would like to be able to farm on like 5, and just to play with like 525 or 550 total MF.
mm,
And once you get enough, I don't have super godly gear. I haven't bought anything with real money, so it's just what I found. But I'm just trying to figure out how I can get, like 20K more DPS and get some more life leech or life on hit and just spend like 50 million on a couple of weapons and see if it really makes a difference. Because I mean, I've talked to people who are playing on like MP7 and 8, and they report, maybe they're lying or maybe it's just what they're, it's not. I don't think they're taking numbers of it, but just way higher legendary drops and total amounts of legendaries and sets really seem to increase once you're past like 500 MF.
mm.
And I definitely noticed that. I mean, I remember going months and months with like no legendaries, and once I got to like my early Demon Hunter got to like 350 MF, suddenly I was finding like one every other game. It just seemed like it was like a 50% or 50 times more of them, which would be I guess a 5,000% since we have an accountant in the room.
An accountant
And
doesn't
I
know how to
just
do math.
yeah, well, that's what computers, that's what calculators are for.
Exactly right. The 10 key
You
does
know, you know who's
math.
how to do math? Texas Instruments.
Exactly. That's my
So
theory.
that's kind of my long term, or actually not very long term now that I'm thinking like once I get to like 80, I'll really just need, once you're at 80, you only need what, 20 times, you only need 60 more MF, and you can get like 40 from your follower.
Right.
So once you're to like 80, you just basically need one item that gives you MF in your max. So you can pretty much look at, fully going on DPS and survival, and then you see if it makes a difference playing it on MP4 or MP5 if you can farm it. But I need better gear, so the challenge continues.
I'm
I'm sure I'll find something really soon that'll make that happen.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And I would think that they were getting a lot of extra drops from the white mobs, right? When you get the higher MPs.
Yeah, you get well, yeah, gray, more rares, but in theory, I noticed that once you get, I was talking to somebody the other day who's a much lower level, like his highest level is like a Paragon 10, and he's always just like he has no money. He's just totally, starving poor. And I was realizing how you really, once you have a high level character, you can really make gold quickly. I mean, even without Tomes of Secret like Xanth is, dealing in
Right.
hardcore. I remember when making a million seemed like it was like a week's work to me. It's like, oh my God, how am I ever gonna make a million gold? And once you're like level 50 Paragon, you pick up a million in like 20 minutes. I mean,
Right.
okay, not literally, but
Well, I
and you're constantly finding stuff that you can sell. You're finding legendaries that'll sell.
right.
I mean, I have no problem making 5 million a day if I do like 3 or 4 runs now. Because my problem is not spending it, but
Well,
I can just imagine people who have like level 80 or 90 Paragons with really great gear. They can probably make 5 and 10 million a day just easily, even without any good finds. You just sort of inhale it.
right. I mean, that's kind of with my new wizard. What I've been doing is I've been, not necessarily neglecting my monk, but I'll log on to him not to get to the next Paragon level, but to just farm and see what I can find to get new gear for the wizard. And like, just the other night finding, a mempo that sells for 50 million. That was like, all right, sweet. Now I can pour, some of that into the wizard. And that's mainly how I'm using my monk right now is just finding stuff for other characters.
That's been my technique to avoid getting rich for the last year in Diablo 3. So it's nice that you're picking it up now.
Yeah.
I have a witch doctor with 300 million in gear on him. I haven't played him in 6 months, but by God, he's got an amazingly good set of item sets.
Yeah. See.
What the hell's witch doctor set?
Oh, Zunimasas.
Tsunamasa.
Yeah, he's got fantastic. I've two self-found. He's got a 50 million Xenomasa's chest and a fantastic Xenomasa's ring,
Okay.
and he's been Paragon 12 since like August. So who's the asshole here, right? Anyway,
Nice. Yeah, that's my fear. I've always had just one character that I poured my time into, and then when they died, I would just remake them. So now having all the classes outside of Demon Hunter at 60, and my Witch Doctor's been at 16 for months. While the monk has been progressing, and now with the wizard, which I'm taking a big interest in, yeah, I don't want to have that kind of situation where I know I've put a lot of gold into the monk and to focus on the wizard, but I think it's going to happen.
despite feeling that your wizard is incredibly fragile and can die at any
I
second.
think I like that though. I think I like the
Yeah.
the thought that death is a little bit closer because I don't feel that as much with the monk now. Because I've been farming, Act 3 forever at this point, where it feels really safe. Whereas the wizard, I walk into the wrong corner in Act 2 and I'm dead.
Well, with any luck.
Right.
Well, I do have some good news for you though, because I recorded the other podcast earlier. I'm afraid I can't post this one until like Thursday or Friday.
So I get a week's reprieve.
Yeah. So obviously you just signed your own death warrant with the last paragraph of speech.
Right.
So
Pretty much.
he's doomed, right? As I mean, that was his words.
That's
That
exactly right.
that wasn't. You might as well have chiseled that in granite. That was an epitaph.
We
Pretty.
expect to see a post on that on your next column.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah. So
be
anybody wondering what Xanth's next column is going to be, it'll be about how his wizard died horribly after he talked about it on the podcast.
in
So now we all know.
in Act 2.
In
In a
Act Two,
corner.
in a corner, the wrong corner.
Okay. Any last thoughts for you guys?
Nope. Thanks for having me on. It's great talking to you guys, and
You've popped your podcast cherry. Was all you hoped it would be?
I'm sure I'll get better.
I think I let you speak once or twice tonight, so that was good.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thanks for your time, and we'll post this next week. And enjoy your Diablo 3, or die and don't enjoy your Diablo 3.
I'll still enjoy it. It'll be fun.
And you get your PlayStation 4 on pre-order, so that's all good. Okay, you've been listening to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diabloincgamers.com. Bye-bye.
Moo.
Ooh.
Moo, moo, moo.